Ball first. Delhi Capitals beat the Mumbai Indians. Let's get straight to the man who did it. Amit Mishra, who has bowled just a lot of deliveries in the IPL. Would you like to know how many? It's the fourth most deliveries in the IPL. I originally looked at the spinners and he had the fourth most deliveries of spinners, but then I looked at all bowlers and he also had... He's bowled a lot in the IPL is what I'm saying. I think that, as much as anything, that shows his quality, because the ability to hang around for this long, he is no longer a young man, and consistently bowl this well to continually get a contract, to stay relevant, it is a phenomenal effort. And he's also managed to look quite baby-faced, or as baby-faced as you can look with a full-grown beard. I think his main skill has always been taking wickets in T20 games. He was perhaps one of the earlier leg spinners that was really known for that. If you have a look here, this is the top 20 most used spinners in the IPL. And forget Rashid Khan, he's the guy at the front. You have to forget him in all of these things. But you can see of the guys who bowl a lot of balls, and we are talking about a lot of balls these guys have bowled, he has the fourth best bowling average. And it's a consistent thing for him. Today, he was setting batters up. Really good skills on show, as always, and he really made Mumbai look a little bit silly there. And I was thinking about this, I think we're going to see a lot of spinners like Mishra, who, especially local Indian spinners, who will continue to play on into very late age. We might even see the same with Harbhajan. And what they would do is they won't play every game, they'll only play when the conditions actually dictate, and in this case, playing in Chennai obviously massively helps Mishra. And as long as their shoulder and wrist and fingers can, continue to help them, I think they'll continue to be handy, but they won't play every game. It's a perfect idea to bring Mishra in for this game and the next game when the conditions are going to favour him. And then perhaps in future, if it's a more neutral pitch or the conditions won't favour him, you just yank him back out. At 38, he's a bit of a liability in the field, but there's no reason why he can't play as long as his arm stays genuinely healthy. The Marcus Stoinis gambit is what I am calling what Delhi did today when they knew that Mumbai was quite a linear type thinking team, and they went with something very random that, to be fair, no one was thinking about. I'm not sure anyone should have been thinking about it, but opening the bowling with Marcus Stoinis. I obviously worked with him in Melbourne Stars. Well, not worked with him, but I was there and I was actually not there. It's a long story. But I spent a lot of time watching Marcus Stoinis bowl is what I'm trying to get at here. And the best way he's used, I think when he's used as the fifth bowling option, it doesn't go well. He doesn't quite have the skills of a fifth bowler, but he's a really, really good sixth bowler. And for a sixth bowler, you don't want someone that has a really good economy and a really good average, because otherwise they'd be in your top five. For a sixth bowler, what you want is someone to be very frugal or very good at taking wickets. And that is what Marcus Stoinis is good at. Other thing that Stoinis is good at is that he has a bit of a flexibility to his bowling. A lot of sixth bowlers can only bowl in the soft overs, the 7th and the 8th over, the 9th over. Once they even get to the 10th and 11th, it gets a little bit worrisome for them. Stoinis actually has the skills that allow him to bowl in the power play when he's needed. He's quite good in the middle, as you would expect for his kind of bowling, but he can also occasionally pinch bowl. Is this a term? We're going with it for a minute. He can pinch bowl you a couple of overs at the depth. Look, he's obviously always going to have quite a high economy because he's bowling right arm medium pace, essentially, or medium fast. But he has a bouncer, he has slower balls, he's quite a smart bowler, and he can get away with it. I thought it was a really interesting thing for him to bowl. He is a good slower ball bowler. He's not an exceptional slower ball bowler, but on this kind of surface, you could see why they went with him. And it was a good tactic, and it worked early for them. Even if he didn't cause the most of the problems, that was Amit Mishra, it certainly, he got rid of QDQ. QDQ? He got rid of QDK, which is an important thing. Just on Marcus Stoinis as a T20 cricketer, he's quite fascinating in that his best role is probably going to be bowling in the middle overs on a few occasions and opening the batting. But in the IPL, he doesn't really fit that role particularly well, and the conditions don't really suit him in that position. There's usually going to be a better opener around, and in the sixth bowling option, you probably want to use a spinner in those middle overs. But why Marcus Stoinis is such a good player to have in your squad, maybe not always in your 11, but certainly in your squad, is he can open the batting. He can also bat 3. Because of his power, he can bat down the order. I don't think he's particularly good at it, but because he has that power, he still gives you a little bit of an option there. And as we've already talked about with his bowling, it's quite flexible as well. He's a very good IPL squad player. Not sure that I would have him in my first 11 all the time, but he can give you a lot of flexibility in the shape of one player. The impressive shape of one player. Before today, Pollard had faced 79 balls from Amit Mishra in IPL cricket, and he was scoring at a strike rate of 170.9 against him. Yes, I had to read that. I had to make sure it was right. It seems quite high, especially for a good bowler. Pollard obviously generally bats later in the innings. In the 10 to 20 over mark, he scores at 9 runs and over against leg spin while averaging a very high rate. In the first 10 overs when he has to face leg spin, it's a completely different ball game for him. In those situations, quite often he's coming in very early, he's trying to chip the ball around, maybe his team has lost early wickets, maybe he's been promoted up the order to bat in a different role, but it changes the way he plays leg spin massively. In those first 10 overs, he averages 18 against leg spin and scores at a run a ball. That's a huge change. And one of the reasons is when he comes in earlier, he completely changes the way he plays against leg spin. He doesn't come down the wicket as much. He gets trapped on the crease a little bit more. Also, the newer ball on occasions will skid through. Today it was just after that 10 over mark. But it was a similar sort of situation. They'd lost a lot of wickets. Pollard had to bat a little bit more sensibly, and he completely changed the way he played against leg spin. And if you think about it, Mishra really sent him up for that wrong-un, which is what Mishra would have liked to have done like hundreds of times bowling to Pollard before. But it's very rare for the Mumbai Indians to actually lose that many wickets to have Pollard under that kind of pressure. What happens in these situations is Pollard goes from a predator to prey against leg spin. It's a really, really interesting transformation that he has. And it's about his mindset, it's about his technique, and it's also about the game situation. Oh, and on Mumbai Indians, this is the first time that they've lost 6 wickets in the first 12 overs of an IPL game since 2016. I think Justin Bieber was still popular back then. Sorry to the believers out there. Just a quick note on Delhi and the way they played this game. They obviously absolutely bossed the game for about 12 overs of their bowling innings. Then they let Mumbai score too many runs. Okay, that can happen. And then I don't think they went about this chase very well. Everything we know about this pitch tells us that they went about this chase in a very, very poor method. Now, there's a couple of things in their favour. Let's be honest, they weren't chasing as many runs as some of the other teams have been chasing. Also, their Dew looked way worse. It looked like you could barely pick the ball up at times. Those are big, big advantages, I believe. But they still made this a game. This game went down to the last over, and they completely bossed it. They didn't lose many wickets when they were batting. They completely tore Mumbai's top and middle order out. And yet, this game came down to the last over. What happens very often is when you win, you don't look at your mistakes. I think if I was Delhi right now, I'd be saying, look, we got away with this. If we continue to play this way, we won't always be this lucky. We will lose a couple of games. Jasprit Bumrah won't always bowl all those no balls. Shikhar Dhawan will actually get caught early on rather than the ball being grass. All those little things that can happen. I think Delhi took a huge risk in this game in what should have been a really simple chase. And as always, just a few players that it's worth keeping your eye on. Rohit Sharma, I thought he looked incredible. That's the way I would always like Rohit Sharma to bat. Probably tactically as well. He's trying to get as many runs as possible early in the game, which means that Mumbai have been really paying attention to this pitch. But he didn't field. He said afterwards it was just a little niggle and it's not a problem, but it is worth keeping an eye on that. He may not play in the next game. Sky, he's seeing the ball well. I kind of feel frustrated with Sky at this point because he's seeing the ball so well. You just want to see him bat for a long period of time, and he's just been doing a bunch of cameos. But he is seeing the ball next level at the moment. Just, his eyes are, I don't know, bigger than other people's. I don't really know how these things work, but he seems to be batting really well is what I'm saying. Mishra took 4 wickets in this game. It's an obvious one to watch, but I'm more saying it because they've got another game on this surface, and that is where we specifically believe he's going to bowl well. Avesh Khan took 2 wickets from his 2 overs. I think I might have mentioned him as a player to watch the last time we talked about Delhi as well. He just looks like to me he's going to consistently take wickets. Again, they brought him on quite late, which I think really suits his bowling, and I think he's going to be in the wickets quite a lot in this tournament. This was quite a game for Lalit Yadav. He went for no runs, and he was there at the end. A very good all-round game. The reason I'm mentioning him more is Chennai specific. Rishabh Pant said that he was promoted up the order because they thought he would specifically bat well on this wicket, and obviously it favours his bowling. I don't think he'll ever be a massive wicket taker, but he went at 4 runs and over, which is a really, really good economy. And if he's going to bat at 4 again, and there's every opportunity on a surface like this, he will. When they're in Chennai, it is worth just thinking about him a little bit. That's all I have for you today. Pop over tomorrow for the 2 games. I'll be here twice. I'll be here once in 1 video, but for 2 games. You know how it works. Bowl first, Jarrod, Kimber. Like, subscribe, share, tell your auntie.